were supports ever considered weak in Overwatch's history? And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. And the reason for that is because, there was a clip that Hoshizora shared on Twitter that I had responded to. And basically, when they had quote retweeted this clip, they had said that, this Ana out healing the damage for this Mercy player who was getting like completely destroyed by this Ashe player was that, well, why are we using this as an argument now that supports are strong now? Back in Overwatch 1, supports were weak. They were considered weak. So I responded to this and I was like, Overwatch 1, supports were considered weak? What? Almost every meta was off the back of supports. And they were strong by the end of Overwatch 2, with the exception of maybe Moira and Mercy being an on-off pick. To which Hoshiro responded, they said that, alright, they weren't, weak, but they weren't as broken as people claim as they are in Overwatch 2. And I was like, I'm more than happy to agree on that for sure, but that actually got me thinking, right? Have supports ever been considered weak? And if so, what is the mentality going around support players that makes them feel or think that, well, actually my role is kind of weak? And, I spoke about this type of topic before as well when I made my support mindset video and why supports have the wrong mindset. Majority of supports, obviously, if you don't fall into this category, don't worry about it. And basically, I feel like I've come to a decent conclusion, and that is because I genuinely believe, I'm going to try and keep this simple and short, right? I genuinely believe that in the support role, it is extremely easy to tunnel vision one job, and that is basically heal botting out. So once you are in the support role and you're heal botting out, you kind of lose sight of what you can also be doing, right? For example, and this was very prominent in Overwatch 1. For example, if I'm playing Ana in Overwatch 1, it was very easy for me to just keep tossing the nade in between my two big tanks, pumping heals into them, getting nano in like every 30-40 seconds, nanoing the Ryan, nanoing the Winston, and easily winning team fights off of it. Now, was I doing the right thing? You could argue yes, because inherently, I'm never ever being punished for making this decision to heal bot out, right? In Overwatch 2, you can actually be somewhat punished for just heal botting all the time. You have to kind of pick up the slack and do a little bit more. So in Overwatch 1, when we think about the role as an entirety, can we say the role was weak? First we'll talk about the role, and then we're going to go over to the mindset. I know I'm a little bit all over the place. I just woke up. I only really have time right now to make this video, so bear with me, guys. So the thing about the role and the role in Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2 is, I'm going to drop a hot take here. I don't even think this is a hot take anymore. Supports were never weak in Overwatch 1, and they were never ever weak in early Overwatch 2 as well. In early Overwatch 2, what happened was that support players had not adapted to the changes as well as DPS and tank players did. Now, some people will be like, well, supports were free kills. I'm going to actually argue and say, no, they weren't. The thing was that support players, out of everybody else, did not understand the best of how to utilize corners. And I mean this from a general player base, not the top levels, right? Top levels never complained about it. Sure, there was some problems with Zen and like one other hero, but outside of that, most of the supports were okay coming into Overwatch 2, right? They were pretty good. When you look at Ana, Bap, Moira, they became very popular picks. Mercy was also pretty good because of how mobile she was. But once people got adjusted to, support players got adjusted to how to play corners better, how to take engagements better, how to understand, how to basically play close to someone so that they can, it's easier to peel for them and just get better at cooldown usage. That's what happened when we went into Overwatch 2. Supports in general got better at this, but why wasn't it there in Overwatch 1? Well, in Overwatch 1, when you have 4 people in front of 2 other support players that can kind of take away the stress, kind of do, get kills and do this and do that, those support players, they're never really learning these things that, what I do matters. Like, me maybe winning this duel against this Genji in my backline is important. Me beating up, landing this sleep dart or flailing away this Winston is important, right? So I would argue that in Overwatch 1, support players got away with a lot of mistakes and not in Overwatch 2, and that's kind of what messed with their mindset a lot, that they could just sit back and relax while everybody in front of them took the stress. And while yes, this might be true even now, that the 3 frontliners are going to be taking the stress off you as best they can, there's going to come a point where you're going to have to kind of do something. And that's why in Overwatch 2, we've seen support players kind of evolve. They've taken a little bit more of like a hybrid-esque playstyle where, yeah, they're going to heal most of the time, but once the fight begins to open up, they gotta go and start applying some pressure by DPSing, right? Or maybe a support will even get the opening pick. Blizzard has also tried to encourage this with the way they marketed Kiriko. It then turned out she was the best heal bot in the game. And, with the way they also marketed and brought out Iliari, she's pretty much just, I take an off-angle, I'll blow somebody's heads off, we'll win a team fight off of it. and things like that. So you can also see that Blizzard is trying to encourage it as well with the design philosophy. So on this note of like, the role mindset and philosophy, to start with, and just the general understanding that has the role ever been weak? No, like I think to go out and say something like support is weak or support feels bad is just that's kind of exposing your own skill. Like that's kind of exposing that you don't know how to play that role to the maximum capacity. Like if you're playing Ana and you're gonna like sit all the way alone in the back, and then a Tracer Somber duo just kind of dives you easily because you chose to isolate yourself, that's on you though. That's not on your team for turning around and like running back across the map to try and peel for you. Like that's something you have to understand as the Ana player, that I can't be doing something like this. You like on Mercy, if you're not disciplined with your cooldown usage and you just keep spamming Guardian Angel and then you get caught, or if you don't have good discipline with the mechanics on Guardian Angel and you accidentally like fling yourself into the enemy team and you get your head blown off, these are the things that you're going to start getting punished for. These are things that tank and DPS players have already been adjusted to in Overwatch 1. These are things that support players in Overwatch 1, they didn't necessarily face these problems that, well, like in Overwatch 1, they could make a ton of mistakes and get away with it. Even nowadays, they can make, well, not a ton of mistakes, they can make a handful of mistakes and sometimes get away with it, right? Not all the time. For sure in Overwatch 2, they will get punished for making some silly plays here and there. But in Overwatch 1, because of the two tanks, the ways that they could protect you, the way that they could peel for you, supports were able to get away with a lot of mistakes. And that's what garnered this mindset of, oh, the role is weak because I've not learned the maximum potential of it, therefore this role needs help, right? It didn't. Like, if we look at the history of the support heroes like Bap, Brig, Ana, Lucio, Zen, Mercy, each of them was very, very strong at some point within Overwatch's life. Especially these three characters, Bap, Brig, and Zen, they were some of, if not the most strongest and oppressive supports that controlled metas, especially in double shield meta. The way that we were bouncing around Bap, Zen, Brig comps within that double shield comp was actually insane, right? So my question to those support players is, well, where were you, playing these really strong support heroes and finding insane value in the way that they could play and what they could do for their team? Or do you openly admit that, yes, you didn't understand how to play the support, the way you thought it was? Like, for example, we know that a lot of Brigitte players think that Brigitte is basically a mini Reinhardt. A lot of them just put the shield up, run in, turn their brain off, they get melted, and they're like, oh, Brigitte is the worst support in the game. No, Brigitte, I would argue right now, is one of the best supports in the game. She probably doesn't have some good matchups against meta tanks like Mauga right now, and if Mauga gets nerfed, then Ram is going to be very powerful too. But ignoring those two, Brig, if she can play smart, if she can play really well, position well, and know how to, discipline her movement, her cooldown usage, Brig can be very strong as a support right now. I'm seeing it in high elo, I'm seeing it in middle elos as well. So it really comes down to individual player skill and individual player expression. And I feel like in the support role, there's been very, very few players from the support role itself that naturally understood this. But when you take a tank or a DPS player and they've transitioned to the support role, they've seemingly been able to do a little bit more because they understand their primary job. They understand how certain cooldown usages and all this other stuff is so important and key that maybe they're bringing even more value than a dedicated support player. And we were able to see some stuff like this, like in the GOATs meta as well. I want to take example of one of my favorite players of all time, 𝐒𝐿. 𝐒𝐿 was the best Brigitte player in the world, and that guy was known as well, in my opinion, he's the best Genji main of all time. And he made a name for himself from Brigitte, and lots of other flex DPS players were also playing Brigitte because they just understood the hero much better. Because of the way that their original role played, the skills were able to be transferred onto Brigitte so well that they understood how to push Brigitte to her max potential so much faster than a dedicated support player would. And we've seen some experiments here and there as well from the community, from other content creators, that when they've taken dedicated tank and DPS players and put them on support, those unranked to GMs on those supports were done much faster than when you took a support player and put them on DPS and tank, right? So my basic philosophy and perspective on all of this is, number one, support has never been a weak role. We need to kind of try to forget about this. Support has never been a weak role, right? In Overwatch 1, they were strong. If you understood how to play the support role in Overwatch 1, they were strong, and now they're even stronger. They're almost borderline. Well, actually, an argument can be made that they are kind of broken right now. And In Overwatch 2, again, if you understand how to play support, they are basically broken. Again, if you just look at the general support player, like ask your support player in a game or just, wherever you see them, like, are you a support player or are you a healer? Because this is a very big deal. Lots of support players get lost in the mindset of a healer. They don't actually understand how to heal the team. I know I've been using Ana as an example. I'll use 𝐒𝐈𝐈 in just a moment too, but like Ana is one of them. Like lots of Ana players will just heal bot on their tanks and just, every now and then smooch their DPS. Like they will never ever look for like that cheeky pick on a flanker or somebody across the map, or even, I've played with so many Anas in quick play and ranked, and a lot of them don't even look for anti-nades. A lot of them don't even throw anti-nades. Like, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So the question is, are you actually playing support or are you playing healer? And that's kind of, the topic that we should be discussing, is that a lot of people that do play support, and again, if you don't fit into this category, don't take it offensively, right? So a lot of people that play support, they just don't know how to push it to the max limit. Again, if we go over to a character like 𝐒𝐈𝐈, right, or even 𝐒𝐒𝐂𝐈𝐊, if you're struggling to DPS on these characters here and there, especially 𝐒𝐈𝐈, you're not going to find value. You're really going to struggle. Even with BAP, like on BAP you can heal, but one of the greatest things about BAP is just his ability to burst fire and melt people. So like I said, like, we really have to bring up this question instead, that instead of if supports were weak in Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2, isn't the question that we should be asking that support players just don't understand their role as much as they think they do? And the very few that have understood it, they've kind of skyrocketed in SR. They're chilling in the higher elos, right? They're at least Masters Plus. So that's the way I kind of see it. Like, people that have understood the support role and understand its value and power, they're pretty much just chilling up there, right? Like, it's easy on support. Like, when you understand the potential and the ceiling of what you can be doing, you just skyrocket in wins in SR because you know how to control the game. Especially in Overwatch 2, no other role can control a game as much as support can right now, right? Except an argument can be made because Mauga is overtuned. He definitely does kind of gatekeep ranked right now. But prior to him, it was basically support. So yeah, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. That have supports ever been considered weak? Because the way I see it, we've always, like, every meta that we've had has kind of revolved around supports, right? And that's something to kind of think about. And I feel like it doesn't, like, we don't think about the mindset as much. Like, we just think about, oh, well, I got dived, I died, therefore I, like, this support hero is bad. Like, especially if you look at Zenyatta players, dude, like, back in my days, Zenyatta players were headshotting and out-dueling everybody. And nowadays, like, these Zenyatta players got 225, the infinite boop kick. Like, come on now, it's a little bit silly, right? And the argument is, yeah, well, in 5v5, it's like, it's easier to dive him and things like that. But still, I do think, after everything that has been said and done, I do think there is an argument that could be made, again, with certain exceptions to people that do understand the role, that the majority of the people that do play support don't actually understand the entire support role's max value. Now, with that being said, guys, I will see you in the next video. If you want to support the channel for free, hit like and subscribe. If you want to support it financially, Super Chat is down there below. And Merry Christmas to everybody who celebrates it.